what it's gon' be. Fucking with a nigga like me.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be going over the autopsy report of the Tempest. The reason why I call this video an autopsy report is because after the nerfs that have happened to the Tempest, it is now going to be dead, and I'm going to explain to you why in this video. But first, we're going to go over the statistics. The maximum damage range was reduced to 4 meters. The minimum damage range has been increased to 66 meters, which quite frankly is irrelevant because submachine guns shouldn't be used at that distance anyway. The ADS cone of fire was increased to 0.3. The vertical recoil was reduced to 0.3. The first shot recoil multiplier was increased to 2.5. The horizontal recoil has been reduced to 0.159/0.3. The horizontal recoil tolerance was decreased to 0.675. I have no idea what that is. And the short reload was increased to 2.23 seconds, while the long reload was increased to 3.6 seconds. Now after these changes and nerfs that were made to the Tempest, you're now going to have two options with this weapon. Because it's an accuracy over damage priority with the Tempest, that means you're going to need to use this lower recoil to your advantage and aim for the head if you're outside of 4 meters. If you are within 4 meters, you're going to just have to barrel stuff your enemies if you want to get that 167 damage and the quick time to kill that the Cyclone and Tempest used to be famous for. If you don't want to barrel stuff your enemies and get killed a lot, then you're going to need to hang back and aim for the head, because that's what the lower recoil is going to get you. In some of the clips that you're going to see me barrel stuffing. Maybe in some other clips you might see me hanging back outside of 4 meters and trying to aim and hit them in the head or upper chest. That's going to be your only chance of success with the Tempest, now that it's been changed so dramatically. So now that I am done explaining the stats and how to use this Tempest, I'm just going to go on a rant on why I hate these changes. If you don't want to hear me rant, then you can just close the video and do whatever else it is you want to do. If you do want to hear me rant, well, grab your popcorn and make sure you don't get a coronary, because there's going to be a lot of salt. Now there are a number of reasons as to why these changes are bullshit, but I'll start off with the simplest reason of them all. The Tempest is now worse than the Cyclone. While Daybreak was trying to prioritize accuracy over damage with the Tempest, they failed miserably and just created a straight downgrade compared to the Cyclone. They barely got away with this accuracy over damage model on the Gauss Prime, but not with the Tempest. If you want the Tempest, just slap on extended mags, top point ammo, and a compensator on your Cyclone. There's also two very compelling reasons as to why I hate these changes, and they're called the MKV Suppressed and the NS7 PDW. My god, these weapons were AIDS on a stick. Their damage and bullet velocity were absolute shit. If you wanted a chance, you had to aim for the head. Whoever made those guns had to be on the worst batch of meth the world has ever seen, because any SMG that requires all headshots just have a chance at a kill shouldn't exist. I mean, for fuck's sake, I could do better with a knife. Now these two weapons were hell to Araxium, don't get me wrong, but at least we got a decent reward. After this update, we basically Araxium these two atrocities for nothing. We got a watered down version of a default gun, so much for pain and gain. That brings me to my next point. The grind is no longer worth it. No matter how good you are at the game, it will still take you a long time to Araxium 4 submachine guns. And if you have a life, like most of us do, you won't be in front of a TV screen 24/7 to farm kills at a biolab. It could take weeks. Those weeks of grinding have been rendered useless now because the reward is worse than what we started out with. And finally, there's an old saying that goes, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Nothing could be more true than for the Tempest. The dev team has the power to nerf or buff whatever they want, but the Tempest was not one of those weapons that needed to be nerfed. In fact, nobody even used the Tempest, or very few people used the Tempest to begin with. If you were a heavy, you use your Anchor or your God Saw or your Gauss Saw. If you were a light assault or an engineer, you use whatever carbines you want to at your disposal. If you were a medic, you use your GR22 Carnage AR, Reaper DMR, God forbid even the Tross. But you didn't pull out the Tempest for any of those classes. Why? because your class-specific weapons were much better than the Tempest in terms of the damage output they had, the range, just about everything. So if you can't tell by now, I am quite pissed off at these changes that were made to the Tempest. Our grind was basically reduced to nothing because our reward is useless. The Tempest never needed to be nerfed, and the hell that we went through terraxing two of the worst guns in the game is now for nothing. I don't think they'll ever bring the Tempest back to the way it should be, which is a good directive gun. And directive guns in general should be worth the grind. If you spend lots of time harassing guns, you deserve a good reward. But today with the Tempest, and probably with other guns too, now you don't have that. So until they actually make changes to the Tempest to make it the way it should be, do not ever become insane enough to go for this weapon, because you will not like what you get.